Good afternoon. My name is Derek Tam, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this concert of resonance at First Church Berkeley, featuring my dear friend and colleague Liz Forsyth, playing a delightful holiday program of toccatas and tunes. You're in for a treat. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We encourage you to click subscribe below so that you can get more of this fun content. For those of you who have been attending our resonance concerts online, do know that there will be an announcement coming soon about spring programming, and I'm really excited to share with you another half season full of delights. As a reminder, one of the things that we're doing for each of these virtual concerts is denoting a charity that half your donations will go to. For this particular concert, your donations will go to HOPE, which is part of the Berkeley Public Schools Fund. They secure housing and other needs of unhoused families in Berkeley. So to donate, go to onrealm.org/fccb/give and select Music Fund. Once again, onrealm.org/fccb/give. All of this is also in the chat. This is also a friendly reminder that you can use the chat to type in comments, questions. Liz and I will be monitoring that. And after the concert, Liz and I will be joining in for a live Q&A. So stay tuned for that, and we hope you'll stick around. Without any further ado, I'm so proud and honored and humbled to present Toccatas and Tunes, a program of organ music by Elizabeth Forsyth.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me this afternoon. And many thanks to First Church Director of Music, Derek Tam, for inviting me to perform, and for our sound engineer, Zach Miley, for his camera work and recording of this program. Let's dive right in. It's always a sure bet to begin a program, an organ program, with a trumpet tune, or in this case, a tuba tune. I think it's also a sure bet that most organists who are familiar with this very well-known piece likely don't know what the composer's CS initials stand for. Clive Seller Lang was born in New Zealand in 1891, and he studied with Charles Stanford at the Royal College of Music in London. This fun, energetic, and short piece kind of straddles both Baroque, Handelian, and 20th century aesthetics. Although there is a tuba stop prepared, meaning when we get the money, we'll put it in on the First Church organ, today I'm using a swell trumpet and a choir trumpet combined for the melody. Next up is a transcription of an orchestral work. I'll be playing two movements from Peter Warlock's Capriol suite. Here we have another British composer channeling an earlier era. Peter Warlock was the pen name of Philip Hazeltine, I hope I'm pronouncing that accurately, who lived from 1894 to 1930. He completed his Capriol suite in 1926, and it is based on 16th century dances. The Pavane, a ceremonial court dance, will be followed by the slightly livelier Basse dance. You'll hear different combinations of stops on 3 divisions of the organ. earlier this year, Derek encouraged me to look at some of the compositions of Adolphus Hailstork, a composer of whom I had heard but was still unfamiliar with his music. I purchased his collection titled Four Spirituals, and upon playing them, immediately wondered why I was just now discovering his music. A Black composer and educator, Hailstork's music draws on African American and European idioms. He's composed 3 operas and a whole slew of orchestral music, choral music, music for solo instruments, and of course organ. I'll be playing 2 of my favorites, the very moving Deep River, followed by the exuberant Toccata on Great Day. next piece was an 11th hour add-in. When I realized that this program was being postponed to the first Saturday in December, I thought, oh dear, people will be fully ready for an all Christmas music program. But instead of reimagining the entire program, I just inserted this next piece written by a good friend of mine, Dr. Neil Harmon, who is professor of organ at Brigham Young University. You are no doubt familiar with the Polish carol, Infant Holy, Infant Lowly, but Dr. Harmon here gives it a fresh feel by setting it in 5/4 time with very inviting harmonies. And now we're off to Germany, where so much great organ literature was composed. Robert Schumann wasn't an organist like Bach or Buxtehude or Mendelssohn, but he did have a very unusual instrument called a pedal piano in his home. I hope that we can show a picture here of what this looks like. He wrote quite a bit of music for this unusual instrument, which is basically a piano, usually a grand piano, with a second piano minus the legs, either positioned underneath or behind the first piano. And the pedal board, which looks like an organ pedal board, controls the hammers and the strings of this second piano. I personally think that this third sketch of Schumann's 4 sketches is much more colorful and grand and exciting on the organ than it would be on the piano. But you can be the judge of that. I'm just glad that I don't have to worry about the organ pedals and additionally the 3 pedals on the piano. this season of joy, what better piece to close with than Richard Elliott's Toccata-like improvisation on Beethoven's Ode to Joy theme. Dr. Elliott is principal organist of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square and one of my all-time favorite organists and performers ever. Whether big or quiet, his compositions are always just brimming with beauty and personality. I hope this will send you off with an extra measure of joy today. Thanks so much for joining me, and please do consider sticking around afterwards for a Q&A with Derek Tam and myself. Derek Tam doing the Q and hopefully me providing the A. Also, I hope you will consider donating to HOPE, which is an acronym for Homeless Outreach Program for Education, which is part of the Berkeley Public Schools Fund. And now on to our final joyful toccata.
Thank you again for joining us. It was such a pleasure to listen to that wonderful concert by Liz as you're already putting it to the chat. But can we give Liz another round of applause? As I always say during these virtual concerts, clap so hard that we can hear you for no matter where you're coming from. How did it feel to listen to your concert on the big screen, Liz?
A little surreal, but I was a little bit primed for what to expect after watching your concert.
Thank you again for joining us. It was such a pleasure to listen to that wonderful concert by Liz as you're ready. I think, Liz, do you have me on give Liz unmuted? Another round of applause. As I always say during these virtual concerts, clap so hard that we can hear you for no matter where you're coming from. How did it feel to listen to your concert on the big screen, Liz?
A little surreal. Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Now everyone knows what the delay is and how much time we have to intercept something before it goes live. But joking aside, this is one of the fun things about doing these Q&As and trying to track 20 different screens at once.
Right.
But as you were saying, a little surreal. You kind of knew what to expect, but tell us more.
Well, I was just telling my son and daughter-in-law, it is live is great. Live is always best, but it's just less fraught with anxiety to do it this way. I enjoyed it. It was fun. So,
That's interesting that you say that. After working with you for so many years, I think we see eye to eye on so many things musically, but I really do not like recording, I have to say.
I feel like at this point, after doing all the recording that you and I have done for church since March, it's become, it used to be the thing that I would do preparing for a live performance. I would record myself because it would ratchet up the anxiety because it would like mimic performance. Like, oh my gosh, this is being recorded and, whatever I do is going to be, saved forever. And now it's like we just do it every week. And so it feels a little bit more normal to me, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good to hear. For those of you who also tune into the First Church services, what we've been doing every week is sort of recording our parts separately and then putting them together. But we did something really special for this Advent season with all of our staff musicians, myself, Liz, and Amar Khalsa, and that was really, really fun to make music safely, socially distanced, but live with someone else. Had forgotten how to collaborate in real time. One of the cool things I think about the organ and other keyboard instruments, but really the organ is one's ability to accompany oneself, play the melody, and also then incorporate all these registration changes and everything. Can you guide us a little bit through that process? I know it's a very vague question, but what are you thinking of or keeping in mind as you're preparing a piece and trying to bring out all the colors in it?
Well, part of when I'm coming up with an actual program of pieces to perform, I do think about not just composers and periods of music and countries that they came from, but I'm also thinking about how to show off the colors of any specific instrument that I'm playing, because organs are all unique. Even electronic organs are unique from each other because the room is like part of the instrument, like how it sounds in the room. And so you do take into account, for example, the tuba tune. It was kind of like, dang it, I just want to play the tuba tune, even though we don't have we have a tuba mirabilis prepared on the First Church organ. And we also have a trumpet enchimade prepared, which are the trumpets that stand straight out, kind of like festival trumpets on an organ case. But I just thought, okay, I'm just going to do the best that I can with the two of the trumpets that I have on the organ. I shouldn't complain, really. I have 3 trumpets. I really shouldn't complain. But I don't know if that answers the question.
No, I think it does. I think obviously, I think that you do a marvelous job with any number of trumpets you have on hand. And of course, someone commented on your scarf as well, in the same vein. Speaking of the First Church organ, we often get a lot of questions about the specifications of the organ. But would you care to give us sort of the layman's overview
Sure.
of the First Church organ?
If you hear an organist talk about the size of an organ, usually they will refer to the number of ranks that an instrument has. And a rank, if you just think of a row of pipes with one pipe per key per sound, like the flute sound, there would be a row of 8-foot flute pipes, or a row of 8-foot strings, or a row of an oboe. And so when you talk about ranks, it's like how many sounds that you have available to you, of a sound per key on a specific division. So your divisions are each manual and the pedal. And so the First Church organ is pretty big, in terms of organs, even in the Bay Area. It is 64 ranks that are installed. And then the fourth manual, the top manual, I don't know if you noticed, but I never played on that top manual. And that's the solo division. And that is just prepared for such time as some, wealthy benefactor comes along and says, oh, we would love to see you use all of those wonderful stops that are prepared for the solo division. But that's like 24 more ranks are prepared for the solo. And also there are ranks on the grate and the pedal, that are part of those 24 ranks that are prepared for with the stops, but not the actual pipes and wind chests.
It's nice to think of the organ as a work in progress. This organ was built in 2005 by the Petty Madden Company. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's their
And
Opus 55,
yeah.
and as far as I can tell, it was their last.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, last but not least,
Petty retired, I think.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's really a jewel, I think, of organs in the Bay Area, and in your hands, shines even more brightly.
Thanks.
So it's such a treat to hear it. And of course, one of the big questions after the fire in 2016 is the organ okay? And I think we mostly got through that unscathed, and it's really nice to get it captured so with such high fidelity here. And I want to give a shout out, of course, to Zach Miley, who has been getting a lot of praise in the chat already. But Zach Miley puts together all the sound and all the video, keeps us temperamental artists nice and happy, I think.
Not even me.
I'm talking about myself. Liz is the most even-keeled person I know. So, and I mean, in that spirit, I guess a question that I have for you that I've been asking everyone pretty much is, what gives you hope in this, dark time? What encourages you? How do we keep things going?
Well, how do we keep things going? I feel like I think this is kind of a weird thing for me to just jump right in and say, but I'm really grateful for technology, because we couldn't have this continuity of some musical experience with all of these performing groups in the Bay Area and beyond, putting up offerings that we can enjoy. And it's not live, but it's pretty darn good. Because of the good technology, and it's immediate and it's there when we want it. We've had CDs, and before that cassettes and LPs, but now we have this added resource for entertainment, for uplift, for rejuvenation. I don't know. I'm taking full advantage of it myself. So I'm really grateful for it. I'm anxious to get back. I mean, I had an organist friend comment in a meeting that we were both in. Like, he says, "Can you imagine the first time that we'll be back in an audience and a live performance, and the electricity that you'll feel with just the excitement of people just waiting. Like everyone will just be so overjoyed with every note. And so we're all like eagerly waiting for that. But in the meantime, I'm grateful for the things that we do have that can provide continuity and solace.
I'm glad you're saying that. I think it's in the beginning, I think a lot of us thought, oh, technology is sort of a stopgap. But I want to say, especially maybe in this Advent season, to think of it as a preparation for re-engagement, that we really have to keep these muscles and our minds and our hearts and our souls open to this experience in a way that we maybe took a little for granted before. And certainly, I don't think we'll be taking granted again for a long time. I'm just looking at sort of the questions in the chat and comments. I think more trumpets. Let's see, anything else? The next additional features of the organ. So we want to get some more, at some point, some more of those ranks in. I would just want to say again that please, everyone, don't hesitate to donate, because your donations are going, half your donations go right back out the door. The other half is going to support what we're doing here at Resonance. Any closing words, Liz, before I make some final remarks?
Well, thank you for asking me to do this. It was really fun, and like I said, it was less anxiety inducing than a live performance, but it was still it was still an opportunity to share music and to connect with people with that music. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and it's fun to have, like, like I think I can pull that up on YouTube if I want to share it in the future. But I'm just grateful for the opportunity, and I'm really grateful for that that the church and the space and that organ, even if it's not complete. It just brings me tremendous joy every time I sit down at that organ.
It's our pleasure, certainly. So I'm so grateful you accepted my invitation, as you almost always do when I ask you to do something.
Even when it's super hard.
Exactly. But no, it's like, you're a fish in water at the organ, which I'm sure is something that anyone is listening to you feels the same way. And again, there's more to come. So thank you again to the audience for staying with us this entire time. We hope this has been a balm for your spirit. There's more to come in the spring, so best way to stay abreast of that is by subscribing to the YouTube channel, going to firstchurchberkeley.org/resonance to check out what the music program at First Church Berkeley has to offer. And again, blessings to you and yours this holiday season. We wish you the best. And yes, this concert will be available in perpetuity on YouTube. So please feel free to share with your family and friends, and hope that it will also bring them a little bit of joy this time of year. So Liz, should we just wave goodbye to our audience and call the concert?
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining. Bye.